Welcome everyone today to today's video. It's going to be more of a podcast than anything else, I think. We're going to tell a happy story, a story that brings America together. This happened October the 14th, 1987. You may remember the story of Baby Jessica. We'll talk about that today. A little bit about Midland. It's an oil town. All through here are oil fields, clear over to Midland, Texas. It's also the childhood home of President Bush. This incident happened at 3309 Tanner Drive. Right here. Let's get some pictures pulled up. This is what the front of the house looks like today. This is actually Baby Jessica's aunt's house. By the way, this is a famous grave channel. We'll tell the story of Baby Jessica. We'll also get a graveyard visit in. And no, it's not Baby Jessica. It's not her aunt either. Okay, 3309 Tanner Drive. This is a backyard. Today it's got a fence, private fence around it. Through my research, I know behind this fence at the back of the property is an alley. Boy, if I had the time, I'd be down there sticking my camera over like a nosy neighbor getting pictures, and I'd probably zoom up on wherever the water well is. Here's another angle. Boy, I wish I knew. If anybody knows, leave me a comment. Also, by the way, leave me a comment if you remember this story and where you were that particular day. Today, the well is covered. For Jessica, October 16th, 87. With love from all of us. Us would be the rescue workers. One of the rescue workers, his name is Robert O'Donnell. He's a local EMT and a firefighter. He's at work on October the 14th, did not get the call. So on the 15th, on his day off, he decided to go over to the location, and he works his way through the crowd. He's known as an EMT, of course. He's 6 foot tall, thin, weighs 145. So they chose him to go down the well and rescue Baby Jessica. But let me tell you what happened. Baby Jessica McClure is playing in a backyard of her aunt's house. Somehow she slips down the 8-inch pipe. She goes down 22 feet and she lands in a 12-inch white space. I want to mention that once Robert got down to her, he put a canvas balloon underneath so she wouldn't slip. During the 58 and a half hours, they lowered a couple of things they did. They lowered oxygen hose down to her, help her breathe better. They also lowered a heat source, a heat hose down to her, keep her warm as they can. Again, this is October in the fall when it's chilly. And then they lowered a third hose with a microphone on it. And bless her heart, they picked her up singing Winnie the Pooh. Isn't that touching? Wow. Okay, so once Robert, they dig a 3 foot wide tunnel right next to the well. So Robert goes down on a first attempt, and they can't dig sideways because this is bedrock. So they find state-of-the-art equipment from 1987. It was fairly new then, and they use water drills to blast out the rock. Robert does. He finally gets to her. He can't get her because her right foot is above her head. That had to have been uncomfortable. So it goes back up. They decide to drill the hole bigger. He goes down, finally gets her. Gets her on the board, and slowly, inch by inch, they bring her up to the surface. Thank goodness.
Dan, it looks like they're getting ready to bring something up from the hole. I can't tell. They're tightening the slack on the cable, and people are moving in very, very close to the hole. Two doctors are right on the edge as they tighten the slack a little bit. A moment ago, you could see what appeared to be smiles on a couple of the people there. One person held a thumbs up, but we have no idea whether that was a signal to the man on the crane or whether he was giving some other signal. There are about 4, 5, 6 people right over the rim of the shaft, leaning over so that you can barely see their heads now. They're peering right down into the shaft. The cable itself is relatively tight. It has been lifted several feet, and then they stopped at this time.
Bruce, the man in the orange hat, what's called in Texas a gimme cap, that orange cap right in the middle is controlling the cable operations. He's controlling it somewhat with hand movements. Man in the orange and white cap with the white mule gloves on.
Yes, I can see him now. You have a different view than I have a little bit there, and I see him, and he is, as you said, giving instructions to the crane operator, as they were going to be very, very careful about this. This is still a very dangerous procedure, as you bring up this child the last few feet, bring her back to the surface. It is a time they want to be very careful with it. They do not want anything to go wrong here, because it's been an exhausting 58 hours, and they want to make certain that when they bring her up, that she is all right and there are no difficulties here. Here she comes. There's clapping.
Live and direct from Midland, Texas, Jessica McClure is up. She's alive. What a fighter.
Dan, we can barely see her from here, but they're holding her up. They're just so excited right around there. People are clapping. It's just a tremendous sense of excitement and relief here. Momentarily, they'll be making their way right toward us here as they prepare to take her to the hospital. Here she comes, right getting ready to go to the hospital.
This week, People magazine had the opportunity to sit down and talk to Jessica McClure Morales. She is Baby Jessica to the world. Jessica is talking to us about her life now and what it was like for her to live really her entire life being known as Baby Jessica.
The term Baby Jessica, it is still an everyday thing. I have people that's how they associate me. I actually told a lady the other day at work that I was the little girl that fell in the well, and she was like, "Oh my gosh, you're Baby Jessica." And I was like, "Yes, ma'am."
In 1986, Jessica McClure Morales was born to Sissy and Chip McClure in Midland, Texas.
Jessica's parents were 18-year-old kids who had gotten married, and so, this was a young couple just starting out.
Then on October 14th, 1987, 18-month-old Jessica was playing in the backyard. Her mom took a minute to run inside and answer a phone call, and in that split second, Jessica slipped and fell into the well.
My right leg was stuck up above my head, like in a split.
The well was 22 feet deep and only 8 inches wide, so there was no easy way to just reach down and pull her out.
After the first initial responders got to the well, others began arriving, and they were shocked by how difficult they felt it was going to be to get her out.
This is still a very dangerous procedure. It is a time they want to be very careful with it. They do not want anything to go wrong here.
Rescuers eventually drilled a vertical shaft parallel to the well and then bored a horizontal tunnel through solid rock.
The rescuer had to be very careful because one wrong pull, he could snap her spine or he could kill her.
Then, after an exhausting 58 hours, Jessica was finally pulled from the well.
Jessica McClure is up. She's alive. What a fighter.
She was alive, and the whole country was absolutely ecstatic. It could have been a lot worse, and the story of baby Jessica captured the heart of America. Jessica got to meet President George H.W. Bush, and of course, there was a TV movie made. It was a story that the whole country could really get behind.
They remodeled my entire foot because it was up above my head for 58 and a half hours. I've got all the original magazines. I have handwritten letters.
Today, 30 years after her dramatic rescue from a well in Midland, Texas, Jessica McClure Morales keeps her baby Jessica memorabilia close.
The doll is from Oprah. These are the photos from when I met George Bush.
But she has no memory of the traumatic event itself.
The first time that I found out I was baby Jessica, I was 4, maybe 5 years old. I used to watch a show called Rescue 911. I remember thinking, oh, that's awful, how sad, that must be so horrible for that child. And I remember being told that, was me and breaking down and crying, in disbelief.
Jessica's accident left permanent scars. In total, she underwent 15 surgeries.
My entire foot, because it was up above my head for 58 and a half hours.
With her foot raised up for such a long time, it developed gangrene. Basically, it had died.
The doctors came in and said that probably the best thing to do would be to amputate it. And Dr. Tubb said, I have an idea and I think I can save it. And he saved it. It's all mine except for my pinky toe.
Doctors took skin from her right hip to help reconstruct her foot. And then she also has a scar across her forehead from the fall.
I have a bald spot in the back of my head from when I'd get tired. They said that I'd rest my head forward on the pipe and then rest it backwards on the pipe. And while they drilled, the vibration caused it to split the skin open.
Aside from some scars, a lost pinky toe, and some rheumatoid arthritis, Jessica recovered fully. And because of the generosity of so many people all across the country, all of her surgeries wound up being paid for.
Many people donated into a trust fund for her that her mother oversaw for a good period of time.
She started with $1.2 million, but after the stock market crash in 2008, that dwindled to $300,000 or so. But all of it has gone to a good cause. She was able to buy her house, she paid for a good education, so she's happy with where she is and what she has now.
When my husband and I first started dating, he did not know who I was at all. We would say love at first sight. About a month into our relationship, we were already engaged. And still, he has no clue who I am. And he goes to his sister one day and tells her, I think I'm gonna dump her. I'm falling in love with her, I wanna be with her. But he said every time we go somewhere, all these people just come up to her and they always wanna talk to her. And she was like, you don't have a clue, do you? And he was like, no, what are you talking about? And she told him, well, she's baby Jessica. She's a little girl that fell in well in '87 here in Midland. He was like, oh, well, that kind of makes sense. A typical day in my life is getting up early to go to work, Monday through Friday. I work at the Greenwood Independent School District.
Jessica tries to keep a low profile, but when people do recognize her, the question she gets asked a lot is, did you go back to the well? And in fact, she has.
Makes me feel lucky that I survived it and happy that I did. That I can come back here 20 years later and say, hey, it couldn't cage me then, why should it cage me now?
Seeing the well for the first time, it was hard, but it wasn't, upsetting.
There's a stone that's been placed over the well now that has a memorial to her that's been engraved there.
To me, it's a symbol that it could have taken my life, but it didn't. I got on my side that day.
There are people that come from far away to see it and to wonder about how this could have happened 30 years ago, but it's sealed off and there's no way that it will happen again.
Man, wasn't that inspiring? Very uplifting. Now we're going to turn the other direction somewhat. And I told you we would talk about Robert O'Donnell a little bit later. Well, he was a normal guy. He coaches soccer, races motorcycles, and drinks Dr. Pepper. Incidentally, he suffered from claustrophobia. Because of his involvement in the rescue of baby Jessica, he is showered with attention and gifts from all around the world. He's invited to the White House. He's even on Oprah. Because Robert became so famous, he hired a management company to handle all his movie parts that was coming his way, he thought, and also he sought out a publisher to help him write his autobiography. He talked so much about the rescue to his co-workers that they started avoiding him and going the other direction. The fire chief says to Robert, "You need to climb down off your pedestal before you fall." Robert's marriage falls apart since he was focused on continuing his fame. He wanted to be a legend. He had a part in a made-for movie in 1989. He played the part of a newsman. This was a non-speaking part. He invited his parents and friends to his house to watch the movie. The movie is called Everyone's Baby. He said, "Okay, here comes my part." He said this several times. But his part was cut out of the movie. This caused him to become embarrassed and depressed. As time went on, people began to forget about who he was and what he did. Got to the point whenever he would meet somebody new, he would say, "Don't you know who I am? I'm the guy that rescued baby Jessica." He gets hooked on prescription drugs and was fired for failing a drug test as an EMT. Eventually moves back into his mother's house. His life was completely a mess, falls apart totally. Sadly, on April 24th, 1995, he removes his shotgun from his mother's house. He's found dead later along a side road while sitting in his pickup just outside of Midland, Texas. The way I find famous graves, in fact, I've been to over 2,300 of them now. Primarily, I use Find a Grave, and if I'm lucky enough, I can click on Show Map. Whenever I see Show Map, that means somebody has been here and posted the location. In this case, if you count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 rows in, and I would look for these trees next to this building, got to use landmarks and find the location. I regret I couldn't make it to Midland for this video. One day I will, and I'll do part 2. He's along Loop 250, the frontage road. Hey, stay tuned. I want to show you something else in this video, but I'm going to end this part of it with everybody needs to be remembered. Thank you, Robert O'Donnell, for saving baby Jessica. Stay tuned. Okay, just got back from Disneyland in California. This is where we had our Christmas party. To the left, this is Anaya. She handles all the customer service. This is Lisa. She does requotes. When your car insurance is increased, she will requote and find better rates with other companies. Maybe not Geico or Liberty Mutual. We could place you with Progressive or another company, Mercury, Safeco Travelers. This is her daughter. She's 2 years old. This is Derek. He works in the office. Got Leanne. She's the office manager. Lauren's Outside Sales, and yours truly. Everybody is licensed. Thanks for watching this video, guys, and happy trails.